All right, so I need to do a video on this, but I also need to explain this first. So this morning, I decided to play with Shadow. You see him sleeping here, and I reminded myself why I don't play with Shadow. He scratched all the way around here, and he wasn't trying to be mean either. He was just playing. As soon as he heard me yell "ow," he ran. He's like, "Whoops, I scratched Dad." So with the arm hair that I have, I can't wear a band-aid on it or a bandage. So we've got uh, a non-stick bandage, and then roller gauze over top. And I of course covered it in polysporin because cat scratches, gotta watch those because they can get infected, and when they get infected, they hurt like a bugger. Remember that from when I was a little kid. I learned at an early age that they stick around a lot longer and they hurt a lot more if you don't use polysporin and keep them covered. So that's what happened to my arm. I didn't break it or anything, so go ahead and let that trend online that I broke my arm. Now we need to talk about WWE. So I'm going to get my black marker out here and talk about everybody who got released today. This is crap. The WWE. So apparently Vince McMahon sold $80 million in his stock, and of course the XFL. It's applied for bankruptcy. A lot of financial issues going on here, but these wrestlers that got let go today, the wrestling world is not happy. And not only that, but if you look at WWE's tweets today, there are people who are not happy with WWE over this either. Now, I have said for a long time WWE had too many wrestlers. I've said for a long time WWE needs to release wrestlers that want to go. And a lot of these people, I think, wanted to go anyways. But not now. Not when you can't find work. So now it's just a matter of, yeah, you're gone. Remember, they're independent contractors. So WWE is saying, all right, that's enough of that. So, of the people who've gone, I want to measure whether or not I think they're marketable somewhere else, as what people know them from with WWE. Now, what's interesting to me is Rusev is released, and Rusev is an absolute beast of a wrestler. He's very entertaining. I really like him. He was so over with the crowd. Rusev Day is a huge chant, and I'm going to say this right now: fans come back, they will be chanting for Rusev. Anytime Lana's anywhere near a ring, they will chant for him. The same way with AJ Lee, they chanted for CM Punk. Rusev got kind of hosed on the way out the door. Think about it. He gets caught in this stupid feud with Bobby Lashley that goes nowhere. I know the ratings for it and all, but it was made just to squash him and get him out the door. And now he's gone. And Rusev has, I think, wanted to go for a while. He's been miserable for a long time. I'm going to say for at least a year. He to me is a guy that if I'm Cody Rhodes today, I'm giving him a call. I'm giving him a call right now and I'm saying, hey, we got to figure something out here because you will sell tickets. And he will. I've seen Rusev live and honestly, really, really enjoyed him. Rusev was a guy that when he started wrestling, I was like, it's another big guy, big deal. But he won me over as the years went on. And honestly, I'm really kind of surprised he gets taken out. No Way Jose. No Way Jose, I think, was probably going to be on his way out the door anyways. It's a dumb gimmick. It's a gimmick that works in NXT that would never have worked on the main roster. You have, like, Emma's dancing. These silly little gimmicks they have in NXT will never work on a main stage. They will never work with a main roster audience. It just doesn't. The comedy acts wear thin quickly. And No Way Jose, I would think if he's repackaged, will find himself a pretty good spot on the indies. I don't see AEW necessarily calling him. Keep in mind, AEW, I am aware, is shut down right now too. So AEW, I think we'll be putting out feelers to some of these guys. Deonna Purrazzo, I figure ends up back in ROH. I think that's a good fit for her. I like Deonna. I think she's a good wrestler. I was actually kind of surprised at how little they used her virtuosa gimmick. It's a good gimmick. The idea that she is a gentle person in the ring, like a gentleman of the ring, and that she bows, and just the way that her whole gimmick on the main roster, she was just sort of there, and she got squashed, and she's sort of gone. So it's not a surprise to me she's gone. It's just it's so quick after her call up. Clearly Vince went, she doesn't have it. Zack Ryder will end up somewhere in the wrestling world. I don't know where. I don't know what he does. But Zack Ryder released, so was Curt Hawkins. So Curt Hawkins on his own may not be that marketable to a main event crowd, but with Zack Ryder he is. They've been tag team champions in WWE more than once. And honestly, Zack Ryder's very talented. And his push got squashed years ago in a baffling manner where the internet was pulling for him. He can go back to doing his internet champion thing. He can have the internet championship belt. I'm sure he still has it somewhere. And can go back to doing he can do YouTube videos where he does his internet championship, and he doesn't have to worry now about somebody else micromanaging his channel. What WWE did was they came in and kind of took it over, and they kind of made it not work. And so it just kind of fell apart from there. And this is a problem where you go out and you do your own thing, and it hits, and WWE goes, hey, that's working on social media. We should bring that in with us. And then they kind of wreck it. They should have let Zack just be himself and continue to get over in his own manner. I remember the video of him trying to climb over a fence and then talking about how he can't get over. Absolutely fantastic. And he has really good comic timing. I would be very surprised if we don't see him on TV again. Curt Hawkins, I could see Zack Ryder and him going somewhere as a package deal. I could see that. Mike and Maria Kanellis have wanted out of their contract for a while now. They were very vocal about it, and they're out. So this was an easy one. They had recently signed a new contract. WWE wanted to keep them away from the opposition. I'm not sure why. I don't think AEW picks up Mike Bennett. I think Mike Bennett might end up back in ROH. He might end up in TNA. Maybe AEW would take a look at it for Maria and for her at least visibility that people know who she is. But I don't think so. I don't think there's a need for that. I think with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, I think they're providing what Mike and Maria would. As I said, Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis. The idea of him being Mike Kanellis and taking his wife's last name is just bizarre. I still don't know why they did that. It was really weird. And then their gimmick is that they love each other. Oh, okay. Yeah, great. So I do think that Mike Bennett, as a solo wrestler, I think sometimes he gets overrated by some, but he's a decent enough wrestler. He can be a mid-carder on the indie scene. Like I said, TNA may very well work for him. He's been in TNA before. Eric Rowan. Okay, if AEW is not on the phone to Eric Rowan today, they're crazy. So you have Rowan and you have Rusev. One thing about AEW is they haven't had that many big men. Now, you don't have to be fascinated with the big men like WWE sometimes is, where just the big guys win all the time. But it's nice to have that. Now, they've got Luke Harper. And Harper, now under the name of Brodie Lee, going back to the name he had before, he seemed to be hinting that Rowan wanted out. Now, Rowan had that silly cage thing at ringside that turned out to be a fake spider. So now he's gone, what did that do? Nothing. So with Rowan out the door, I would be shocked if Brodie Lee himself isn't calling him today and saying, hey, you need to come over to AEW. We'll figure something out. Now, you don't put him in Dark Order. You put him against Dark Order. You have him come in and say, Brodie Lee's not all that big of a deal. I can beat... And you have this great feud between the two of them. And it doesn't matter what name you give Eric Rowan. You can just call him Big Red. Whatever you want to do with him. I think Rowan can be really... And he's another wrestler that can speak well and for whatever reason didn't get the quality of time in WWE. So that's three guys that I could see on the air for AEW. And I know people are going to say, oh, so they'll just pick up what WWE doesn't want. None of these guys are old. These are relatively young wrestlers. Primo and Epico Cologne, I would be shocked if they don't end up in either AAA. I could see AAA working really well for them. There are some really good wrestling companies south of the border. I could see them in Japan. I could see almost any of these people in Japan. Gotta be honest, Japanese wrestling is fantastic. You can make really good money in Japan. Any of these people could end up going over to Japan. The Colognes, it could work really, really well. I did not like any of the gimmicks they gave them. But at the same time, it is harder for them to get over. They don't have a distinct look. They don't have a distinct style. And, yeah, the best Cologne to me was Carlito. Carlito was fantastic, and for whatever reason, he didn't stick around very long in WWE either. Mike Chioda, referee. Mike Chioda will end up either in TNA or he'll end up in AEW. He's a referee. He's a recognizable referee. He'll end up in one of the other big companies. I'm not going to put a check mark next to him because he's a referee. Sarah Logan. So when they broke up the Riot Squad, I had figured Liv Morgan would fall through the cracks. Of the three, I thought it was going to be Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is the best looking of the three, but she's also the one that, as in terms of being a technical professional wrestler, she's the one with the most challenges to get to that next level so that you can take her as a legit threat to, say, like Charlotte or Becky or any of them. Sarah Logan, the girl's a beast. And she posts these workout videos all the time. I follow her on Instagram. And she works out really hard daily. And she was practicing social distancing before it was the thing. Sarah's absolutely fantastic. She's got a very unique look. She's a really good wrestler. And I remember when she was Crazy Mary Dobson in ROH, and I hope she goes back to that name. Could very well do that back on the independent scene. I could see her back in ROH, and I could see her in AEW. You look at women that could take that AEW women's roster and make it a little stronger. Sarah Logan's it. Very underrated. I thought, the look she had since splitting, that sort of a Viking look that she had, obviously, her husband being one of the Viking Raiders and all that. And she had a look that was similar to that. I'm actually really surprised they didn't put her with them on some level. They didn't create some kind of a stable with the three of them together, but I'm really surprised she got released. Of the three in the Riot Squad, that's the one that I think is the underrated young lady that could absolutely be a star. So somebody's going to pick her up. Aidan English, of course, was doing commentary in NXT, or not NXT, 205 Live. I like Aidan English. Very, very entertaining. And it'll be interesting to see if Aidan English and Rusev end up in the same spot. As in Aidan English doing the singing thing he was doing in WWE. It was entertaining. I watched it live a couple of times, and he could really get the fans to hate him. So you could have Aidan working as a manager. You could have him around. And again, I understand what WWE did there. Heath Slater, the man's got kids. So Jinder Mahal, who I expect to end up getting released. I would be very surprised if Jinder Mahal ends up making it through all this. Jinder Mahal has been world champion now. We see Drew McIntyre as the current champion. And I thought, you know what? Heath Slater's the only member of 3MB that hasn't been champ. Wouldn't that be great? If just for one night Heath Slater had the WWE or the world title. Just for one night he wins it. Just somehow he wins it, and then he can lose it the next night. But it would be great if he just had it for that one day, and it hasn't happened. And now apparently it won't. Heath Slater is very good at putting other guys over. I would be surprised if he doesn't end up, maybe he ends up working as a road agent. At this stage, I don't know. Again, I don't know the appeal that he necessarily would have. So, like, if you're AEW, you may call him up, but it's not going to be for like a main event push. It would be more just, here's the former Heath Slater. A lot of these people are going to have to be under different names because WWE trademarked these names just in case they left. Lio Rush, very, very good, very, very good wrestler. I would think that with his cruiserweight ability, he may be very good in Mexico. I would think that he could be very good in Japan as well. Now, with some of the other reputations about how he is backstage and how he rubs people the wrong way, he may not be a pick for AEW. So he could end up there. Certainly, a match between Darby Allin and Lio Rush could be fantastic, but I don't know that necessarily that's going to be in the cards. I talked about Curt Hawkins, so we'll move on to EC3. EC3 has been seen in pictures with Chris Jericho. EC3, I think, and here's the thing, I think sometimes the internet wrestling community, IWC as it's been known for decades, the renowned and reviled, I think EC3 gets overrated on some level by the online community, but he was really underutilized in WWE. If you saw his feud in NXT with Velveteen Dream, he can be very, very good. And I didn't think that it was working on the main roster because he didn't let him talk. He did not let him talk. He's a good talker. So now he can take that name. That's his name. He can take EC3. He can go over to AEW, and I think he'll end up there. He's obviously friends with people there. I'd be very surprised if he didn't end up on AEW TV at some point. So for Tony Khan, who had been looking at maybe getting a show on Thursdays as well and having two separate shows, you may be able to have enough wrestlers to do that. Eric Young probably goes back to TNA. I would be very surprised if he doesn't go back to TNA. Maybe he goes to ROH. At this stage in his career, I don't know if he would go to AEW. Man, they blew it with Sanity, didn't they? Sanity was this great group in NXT, and then they just kind of throw him in the WWE roster and then just break him up. And Nikki was part of Sanity in NXT. She was fantastic. That whole Sanity angle in NXT was just great. And then it just sort of, I seem to remember Sanity having a great, I want to say, War Games match with the Undisputed Era, but, some really, really great matches I remember Sanity having before they came up. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, I would think, are headed back to Japan. And I think that WWE re-signed them to keep them away from AEW. I don't think they had any plans to do anything to push them. They gave them the titles. That may very well have been in their contracts. You'll sign a title sometimes with the idea of, we're signing on the agreement that we'll have the title at some point. So they give them the titles and they take them away. Gallows and Anderson, I'm kind of on the fence with. Gallows is a your monster character, and Carl Anderson is a very capable wrestler, but are they overly marketable? Not really. They could be. Certainly they could be with the right amount of build. This, of course, leaves AJ without anybody in his stable. His stable just got released. So AJ's on his own. I'm thinking turn him face again. And I don't know, do you just pretend they don't exist? I have no idea how they're going to do this. Drake Maverick, he is gone. I would expect he'll be back in TNA, or maybe he goes to AEW as a manager, as a backstage guy. We'll see, but he's not an overly marketable name on his own. And then Curt Angle. Curt Angle being released by WWE. It's too bad. But I would be very surprised if TNA doesn't take some kind of a deal with him where he shows up there a couple of times, maybe in a commissioner's type role for a night or something like that. Maybe he goes to ROH for a couple of appearances. Maybe he shows up at an AEW show for a one-time appearance. But when we look at all of these releases, these are a lot of people that right now are out of work. And it's apparently going to be a list that grows. I thought about waiting until tomorrow to do this, because there are rumors that NXT releases are going to be announced after the NXT show tonight. So there may be a lot more. Deonna Purrazzo technically wasn't officially called up that I saw, so you could kind of count her as an NXT cut, although the last few matches she had were at Raw. We're on Raw, I should say. So of the group that they've let go of, I would watch for Rusev, Zack Ryder, Erick Rowan, EC3, and Sarah Logan to all potentially end up in AEW. That would be my guess on some level. And again, Sarah Logan, she just, I don't understand. I don't understand sometimes who gets pushed and who doesn't. And like Lacey Evans got pushed and then she turned face and And then, you got Sarah just kind of flailing out there. And I think the talent is there, the drive's there. And again, if you don't follow her on Instagram, do. And check out some of her videos she's posted about her workouts. And it's reminiscent of Rocky IV, where he's out working in Siberia while, Dolph Lundgren's, working out in front of all the cameras with all the high-tech equipment, and Rocky's, pulling a bull backwards across the snow. He wasn't doing that, but, that kind of thing. She's got that. She's got that quality. She, you believe that she could kill a bear with her bare hands. You believe. Absolutely. She could be Jebba Sarah Springfield. There you go, Jebba Sarah Springfield, and she could come out and, say she wrestles bears with her bare hands. I genuinely, I think she has that capability. Of everybody on the board, the big names I think are Rusev and EC3. If you're in AEW, those are the ones that could really get a lot of a big push. Rowan would get somewhat of a push as well. And for the women's division, Sarah. Although they could pick up Deonna as well. Deonna's a very good wrestler. I have wondered, the one thing I've wondered with Deonna is, does she have a unique enough look that a company would see her as the face of wrestling? I think with the robe she was wearing with the tails and the bow she gave before and after matches, that's some really good stuff. I'm just surprised. And so we will probably see more cuts after NXT tonight, and that's too bad. This is, and again, a lot of people are ending up out of work. These are people who are all currently out of work because companies won't be hiring them right away. Again, some of these guys are going to hear from AEW, where Cody Rhodes, maybe the Young Bucks, maybe Kenny Omega, maybe Tony Khan himself are going to be working the phones and saying, okay, we can make inroads. And again, none of these people will tilt things in favor of AEW against WWE. And I'm not trying to look at this as one versus the other. I just like the idea of two really strong companies that have a really unique product, where one's got a really strong product and so does the other, and they feel completely different. And I think we've seen that where WWE and NXT have, or not NXT, WWE and AEW have completely different feels to them, and NXT has a different feel from Raw or SmackDown as well. But we'll see. So let me know of the people on this board here, who you think could honestly be a big draw somewhere else and could end up being kind of a mistake. Like I said, Rusev, the crowd was eating out of the palm of his hand for a long time there. And, you know, if Rusev can get over with some of the silly stuff that he was doing there, I'm always impressed by wrestlers that when WWE gives them a silly gimmick, they go, and I'll make it work. And they do. And Rusev did that. He made Rusev Day a thing. He really did. And today is truly Rusev Day because now he's free. And I think he's wanted that for a long time. It's just weird because his wife in real life is Lana, CJ Parker, and she's still employed. They seem to want to keep her, and they didn't seem to have any interest in keeping him, and now he's free. So what are they going to do? Let me know in the comment section below who you think shows up on Dynamite, who comes out first on Dynamite, and which of these wrestlers do you think that as a casual wrestling fan, you go, oh, that guy's on Dynamite. I might want to watch that and see what's going on. I might want to see how that works. So if they have, say, Eric Rowan under a different name wrestling against Brodie Lee, does that cause people to tune in and go, hey, I know who they are? It's something WCW definitely had. Certainly with the names that WCW had in the late 90s, there were bigger names than what you're looking at with AEW. But it's a totally different era as well. So I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And it is not a happy day. I've seen a lot of posts on Twitter today from wrestlers saying they're angry and they're heartbroken. And not just WWE wrestlers, but wrestlers from all over the wrestling world. I follow a lot of wrestlers, and they're all pretty much chiming in with the exact same thought, which is this is a really sad day. And they understand. But I do wonder how much of this is Vince trying to cover for the fact that some of that stock went towards XFL, and he's taken a huge hit with the XFL. The XFL has really hurt the WWE's bottom line because it's hurt Vince McMahon. And going into bankruptcy, boy, I tell you, that, honestly, I don't know how things look when we come out of this. Financially, I don't know. I don't know, because if WWE ends up in a position where public health says we have to shut this down and they don't have a product on TV and they end up being told by Fox and by whoever else they have agreements with, hey, we can get out of this then because you guys just aren't drawing and now you're not even on TV. The ratings are low for wrestling right now. And I understand that as somebody that runs a sports channel right now, people aren't watching sports. They're not. They're watching other things, and right now wrestling is trying to go up against something pretty heavy around the world, and I think those ratings are going to probably stay down. And again, there are people who may not enjoy watching wrestling without fans in attendance. I think it's easier for AEW. I think because they have that core audience of what I would call wrestling nerds, and WWE does have more of the casual, a bigger audience, but it's easier to erode that bigger audience. But let me know your thoughts about that too. It's an interesting time, and to any of the wrestlers on this board, if they happen to come across this video, I don't know why they would. My fashion choice today is simple. WWE's run out of Connecticut, which is Hartford. Hartford is in Connecticut, and you're a bunch of jerks if you're putting people out of work when you don't have to. So that seems to be the thought online. That's why I'm wearing the bunch of jerks shirt, because the feeling online is this is WWE's a company with a lot of money that could have afforded to at least pay these people. You're not going to use them, you can still afford to pay them. And they decided to let them all go anyways. And it may very well be to bump the stock price up. So, dark times, my friends, but we will get through them. Thank you again for watching and for all your attention and your time. It means a lot. Remember, stay home, stay safe as much as possible. And I am really looking forward to see how this changes the whole complexion of everything. Because notice, I mentioned a lot of different wrestling companies these people can go to. And I don't want to discount ROH's product. I don't want to discount, because ROH is down, but they've been better. I don't want to discount TNA's either, because they're still on television. And I don't want to discount Japan or what they do down in Mexico, because there's some great wrestling. I've watched AAA shows where I have no idea what I'm watching. I have no clue what's going on. But dear Lord, is it entertaining. And the really rapid fire Spanish announcers that I know some Spanish. I can't understand a word they're saying. It's just insane. So there's some fun stuff in the wrestling world that these people should be able to do. Most of these people should be able to find work once the economy starts to become the economy again. But fingers crossed for them and for anybody watching this as well that has been dramatically affected by this. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you again soon.